everyone, and welcome to Shannonville Motorsport Park for the first Superbike National Race of the 2017 Mopar CSBK Championship. I'm your announcer, Frank Wood. This National Championship race is brought to you by the Trenton Military Family Resource Center, Dalton Timmis Insurance, Motovan, Honda, Magneti Marelli, offered by Mopar, and Dunlop.
And here we are waiting for the warm-up lap at Shannonville Motorsport Park. The conditions today are very good for motorsport, but unfortunately we've had very little weather like this so far this season. So heat into the track and heat in the tires is almost an unusual thing at this point. Yeah,
the Mother Nature has decidedly been on our side this weekend, that's a certainty. And it showed up yesterday as well during the Dalton Timmis Super Pole in the qualifying session that we had, the initial qualifying, then of course Super Pole, where we had 6 riders within half a second. So we're anticipating a bit of a barn burner here today.
Let's have a look at the grid, and you can see there that Sean Haydorn would have been a starter, but he injured his shoulder in a crash Saturday. Looking on to rows 4 and 5, and we see a number of riders who will be contending for the Brooklyn Cycle Pro Rookie of the Year honors. Tim Toldness, Jean-Marc Biolger, Dave McKay, and Doug Lawrence, the former flat track champion, making his pro debut for the Suzuki team. Moving on to row 3, and there we can see Williams back in the series full-time with the BMW, Trepanier, one of our top rookie pros last year, Thomas Kazaz showing well on his Yamaha R6, and Chris Brent moving up from the amateur ranks also on a Honda CBR 600RR. Row 2, Andrew Nelson making a return to the series on the lead Suzuki, Bodhi Edie on his Yamaha, Michael Leon, veteran of the series, again doing well with his BMW. Meanwhile, the normal suspects are at the very front. Szoke, McBride, Riedman, and Young. And yes, these 4 featured in last year's Shannonville round.
Yeah, very similar. Deja vu all over again. Now the riders will roll up onto the front straightaway here at Shannonville Motorsport Park, the birthplace of champions. This place has hosted more Superbike races than any other venue we've been to.
There we can see we're lining up, just about ready to go. We're just short one guy on the front row, and that's Ben Young just pulling into position. Of course, at this point, everybody wants to get going. They've got good heat in those Dunlop tires. Your pace early in the race is difficult to predict until you've been out there. I don't know what Fred was doing there, but he picked something up off the track.
Something on the track there, Colin. Yeah, Matt McBride was looking at, but minor.
So now Fred Benjamin has cleared the track. We're under starters orders, and everyone's going to be looking at those start lights.
Rider's choice start lights. The starting procedure is those lights will work their way down till they're all on. When they all go off, the clutches come out, and the field will launch. And they have done so. It looked like Szoke got an early jump on him there.
Heading into turn 1, and yeah, Szoke got it from Riedman, Young, McBride. Hard to say. I think that Leon had a good launch there too.
Indeed, Leon is in 4th place right now. That's McBride sitting back in 3rd. Yeah, we got it right there. McBride sitting back in 3rd spot. Kenny Riedman having a look up the inside of Jordan Szoke as they make their first trip into turn number 3 on this layout. Now into 4 and 5, the traditional 8, 9, and 10, as we quite often refer to it, into the hairpin at the very least. And we'll take our first run down into Big Eye territory at the end of this one.
McBride in 3rd. Now we go on board with our drift camera. Kenny Riedman carrying it on board with our drift camera for the lead BMW, looking at Riedman's Kawasaki. And Riedman again has a good look at Szoke. He is not in the mood to follow.
He had the tail of the dog wagging, I should say, Colin, on that one. Heavy on the front brakes and the back end swinging back and forth, but not enough momentum to attack Szoke. Look out now, talk about attack as Kenny Riedman comes in. That was a nice setup. He was on the outside going in, which would have given the inside line, but it didn't quite work out.
Well, as you like to say, Frank, he was taking a stab, and that's 3 stabs he took on the first lap. So a little bit different approach than we've seen from Riedman previously. McBride coming along with the top 2, but what we're seeing that's unusual is a gap to 4th, and Young, who I believe is 4th now, needs to get a move on if he's going to stay with the guys he normally rides with.
Yeah, we got a triumvirate running up front there, and these guys are getting away. Looks like we're going to have a 3-horse race, and Kenny Riedman sitting back there, the speed man, Riedman sitting back in 2nd spot, and he doesn't like sitting back in 2nd spot. I'm sure he's going to be wanting to move into the race lead, and need we say he really, really wants to win a Superbike race. This may be the place.
Riedman is the rider who probably had the best off-season preparation. He did some riding in the States. He was at Calabogie last weekend, so he may be a little more ready ready to run the pace, but at this juncture in the season, first national of the year, not a lot of dry running in Ontario so far this May. It's anyone's guess what the race pace is. Yesterday, even with limited dry practice, the pace at the front in qualifying was surprisingly fast and surprisingly close. However, what we're watching right now is some version of business as usual. Jordan Szoke setting the pace and everyone else trying to decide how hard they want to push those Dunlop slicks early in the race.
Well, we talked about the fact that we had 6 riders within half a second of one another in Dalton Tip. There goes Kenny Reed. Nope, didn't do it this time either. I thought he was going to charge right in there and perhaps push Szoke right off the line, but thought better of it. We do have a long race ahead of us.
Well, that's a classic pass. It's swerved often here. Oh, look, Reedman's going to try again, and well, right after he tried one thing, he did something similar in a different turn, and of course, those are the 2 most likely spots to pass other than Allen's Corner on this layout at Shannonville Motorsport Park. Reedman blocking the draft a bit. Have to be careful with the rules there. You don't want to be caught weaving. But now the question is, what will Szoke do? And as we watch the replay here, and Reedman basically decides, I'm just going to go under him. I'm going to lose a little speed. I'm going to block past him. Of course, the key at this point is he hits the apex as he wants to be lined up, so Szoke doesn't immediately repass with the better drive. So here you go. You'll see in a split second, Reedman makes that commitment. Right about now, he's decided, I'm going to try it. And he doesn't have to get all the way by, because as Jordan pivots his head, he's going to see that Reedman's in his way. But of course, Jordan being who he is, he's going to be thinking repass within the next few feet. So that's about as well executed a move as you could expect. And I think Reedman on that brand new Kawasaki ZX-10 RR Ninja, bike new this season, limited edition in Canada, we're going to see if this dog can hunt.
Well, sitting back there with the best seat in the house for all that action, of course, with Matthew McBride, and I wouldn't count him out of this, not by a long shot. You'll remember Colin very well last year when Matt McBride was running in a similar position early in the race, then suddenly found himself in front of everyone and looked like he was going to gap them before he just ran out of energy. Into the hairpin once more. Reedman has the lead. Szoke is sitting in right behind him. Reedman, will he break the draft this time around? No, he stays on a straight line, and Szoke may be able to take advantage of that. However, McBride, Colin, may have the best chance here. He could pick up a double draft, perhaps hitting up that back straight.
Yeah, I don't think Szoke feels the pressure at the moment. You know, he's going to be willing to follow Reedman and see what that bike can do. And it's always interesting when someone has a new setup or a new set of parameters for their race season, as many of the guys do at the start of the year, to see what they're capable of. Of course, Reedman, this is his first race on this bike. He probably doesn't completely know what he's capable of. On the other hand, Szoke on that BMW, he absolutely knows what he can do.
Ben Young is breaking away from the battle that he was having with Michael Leon on the 74 bike. Ben Young on the 86 has gotten away from that battle, and he's starting to make some inroads into the trio that runs up front in this contest.
And you saw there where Reedman had tried to make a pass before. He ran up the inside to block the line. Szoke took the classic line, picked up a little speed there. But again, I think Szoke's just feeling it out, no urgency. If McBride joins the party in any real way, then I think you'll see what Szoke's capable of, because he only likes to deal with 1 or 2 problems at a time, and his ability to manage races for the last few years has been really unparalleled. There's hardly anyone in the history of motorcycle racing who's managed as many races as successfully as Jordan Szoke.
Well, I know we talk often about the amount of saddle time that Szoke has, the deep file of knowledge and information that he has to draw from, but at this particular racetrack, here comes McBride. I was just going to talk about him. At this particular racetrack, Matthew McBride by far has the most saddle time. They run track days here on a number of occasions during the summer months, and this kid can rattle off 105s all day long. Qualifying in 104 and change was the Dalton Timmis Super Pole qualifying time for the top 6 riders was 104 and change. They were less than half a second difference. And McBride, as I've commented, can rattle off that type of lap all day long on this track.
We saw a graphic there, Frankie. You could see how close the lap times are amongst our front runners. Several people running at within a 10th or 2 of the same pace. And when you get down to a 10th, really, the slightest little miscue or stumble or just different line can pick up or drop a 10th. So, most top riders, if they're within a couple of tenths of what they think their optimum time could be, they'd be happy. Now, having said that, nobody's run a bunch of laps together on a warm track so far this year. So this isn't just learning to race the other guy. This is learning to know what your bike likes, can and can't do as the fuel line.
Here comes McBride again. McBride to the inside of Szoke. He's done it. He's made the pass. McBride moves into second spot, but for how long. Szoke takes it back on the exit of turn 14 and onto the front straightaway.
I think how long was about 70 meters at the maximum, and I think if McBride does that again later in the race, he'd be better to just close the door, because he was very nice about it, and Jordan came right on through the way you'd expect Jordan to do. He doesn't hesitate when there's an opening. Look at this. Jordan is fired up, having briefly seen McBride. Looks like he wants to deal with Reedman.
Yeah, he's had McBride in front of him for a very short period of time, as you pointed out, and that's enough of that nonsense, and I've got something else to deal with here. The speed man, Reedman, now is under a pressure cooker now, and look at this. Ben Young is in this race. Suddenly, we've gone from a 3-horse race to a bit of a herd here as Ben Young on the BMW closing in on them, and I think he might be dragging Michael Leon with him.
I think that's actually Bodhi Edie on the Yamaha, who did not get a great start on that Z1 built bike. Mike Fitzgerald, the famous thermos man, doing the chassis work, and good to have Michael here with the series, and definitely paying dividends with a bike that really just required some development. But I think what's going on right now is Reedman is running a comfortable pace. He's not slow, but Szoke is thinking it's time to go. We're not quite at halfway, but this is when strategy comes into play, and you want to think about laps led and when the race could be called official, bonus points, all that kind of stuff, and Szoke suddenly seems to be rather more forceful in his plan.
The drift camera picking some great footage up there as we look back from Kenny Reedman's Kawasaki ZX-10R, looking back at Jordan Szoke's BMW S1000RR, and of course Matt McBride. I talked about Matt McBride being in a good position, and I'm thinking that perhaps we could also add Ben Young into a good position here, because he's got a big wall break in the air for him.
Yeah, I think we got Ben Young, then behind him Bodhi Edie, then Michael Leon on his BMW, and then Jeff Williams in his return to the series on BMW they've just completed. So that seems to be the group that has close to the race pace. Everyone else will be trying to figure out what needs to be done to pick it up. And look at Szoke, he is glued to the back of Reedman's Ninja.
This is a wonderful turn of events to have Ben Young and Bodhi Edie. There's Edie now. If he can join up with it, we will have the race we've been waiting for, with 6 riders under half a second in Dalton Timmis Insurance qualifying. We wanted a barn burner, and Colin, I think we got one coming up to a boil very shortly here.
And as Szoke has a look on the outside, you can see Reedman's TC, traction control kicking in there, the tires squirming. No doubt Szoke was in the similar kind of mode. He had that little light flashing on his dashboard to let you know you're working the tire hard. But what I was going to say, Frank, is it looks to me like McBride definitely has Ben Young on him now.
Ben Young will go to work on McBride. McBride, I would have thought, was in the better position. Here goes Young now sitting back there in 4th spot. Bodhi Edie again has closed up significantly in the last lap, Colin. He is now right with Ben Young, so perhaps the 2 of them are going to be towed along here.
And I think everybody wants to see Edie get into contention. I know that last year when Edie had the bike working well, Szoke was very interested in how that Yamaha performed. And at St. Eustache, he actually spent some time in practice riding with Edie to see what the bike could do. So we all would like to know. Look at Reedman. He's starting to pick up the pace, a little more aggressive on the brakes there. And it's a little bit of a strange situation that mid-race we've had compression at the front. And Szoke's going to see his pit board, and he's going to think this is not what I want to do with this race.
Yeah, and that means big trouble for the rest of them. If Szoke does get in front and starts to get some fresh air, they may have their work cut out for them even more so than normal. Edie now sitting back in 5th spot. Ben Young is in 4th. And they are behind Matt McBride, and Matt McBride not quite in keeping pace that we saw 2 laps ago, where he was right with Szoke and actually made the pass. Although he's still very much in it. We'll take another run down into Big I territory and see how he works out down here now.
Well, what you got to say, Frank, is mid-race, 5 guys going for the lead. It's been a while since we've seen this, and Szoke decides now's the time to try.
It looked like Kenny backed off too early. I suspected Szoke just held on the throttle a little bit longer. He got a little bit braver on the brakes going into 11, but he's made the pass, and he now has the race lead, and it looks like he's starting to yank it out a ways. Reedman taking another closer look as we go down in through Allen's corner there, but Reedman may have problems of his own with 3 riders in behind him, hungry for the last podium spot.
You can see Jordan's big Dunlop slick putting down the rubber, spinning just a little bit onto the front straight, and this is what people don't want to see. And here's the move that led to the problem.
Now watch Reedman's.
Well, I think what happens is Szoke is just trying to get even with him, because then he has the line and he can just finish it up on the brakes. At that point, Riedman wants to roll the turn and not lose too much speed. So I think we lost a little tiny bit of speed at the apex there, but Szoke has the move he wants. He's back in control of this race, and really what's going to happen now is in the next lap or two, Szoke is going to see if he can break them. If he can, then the race is over. If he can't, then he'll ease back and save his tires a bit. We've seen him play it both ways, but honestly right now it looks like he's taken off.
So the pressure's on Riedman now to try to stay with Szoke. I guess you could say that Szoke takes the race lead and say, catch me if you can, Kenny.
There you can see the splits, the difference in the times, and Zoke's best lap is now almost half a second faster than anybody else, and that's happened in the last lap.
Young coming right up on Kenny Riedman there.
And that's the pass that we've all been wondering about, that inside pass that the track has made it very difficult because the surface has deteriorated, but it has worked a couple of times.
I misidentified that bike. That's actually Matt McBride that Ben Young sitting in behind, of course. There he is, Matt McBride on the Rider's Choice BMW. He hailing in from Mississauga, Ontario. And Ben Young on the BMW Motorrad sponsored, Scott Bill sponsored S1000RR. Back there in fourth spot for now, and bringing along his friend Bodhi Edie, who's on that Yamaha R1.
And you can see they have to cross just a little bit of water from all the rain we had on Thursday and Friday here at Shannonville. Unprecedented amount of rain in May in Ontario, and everybody's very happy. We have an almost dry track and has allowed some very, very good lap times. This is a good shot, very good camera work there. That battle for third with McBride just barely holding off Young, and of course our wild card Edie. We really don't know what he's capable of, but what he seems to have done has make up for a bad start and climb his way into the conversation, at least for third place and maybe a podium.
Well, that barn burner rather than I referred to earlier seems to have evaporated somewhat, as there's too much distance now between Kenny and Jordan. Jordan running up front, of course, and there's also too much distance between Kenny Riedman and Matt McBride. The race now is for third spot, and here comes Ben Young. Sorry, that was Bodhi Edie coming up on Ben Young.
Yeah, everybody had a look there, and Riedman has tried to hang on to Szoke, and at least that's pulled him clear of this race. And I agree, Frank, at the moment it looks like the battle is for third, and this is a good battle. Two BMWs and a Yamaha R1, some different riding styles, and I think it's always impressive to watch Matt McBride, the efficiency which he rides at this track and how well he knows it. And then a lot of different things going on. And Edie on that Yamaha, we haven't seen a lot of him, but the setup of that bike, I would say, is more of a World Superbike style. The bike's very long. It's as long as they can make it with our rules, and it's fairly tall for ground clearance.
There goes Young. Ben Young is on cork one now. He has moved in front of Matt McBride. Nice move by Young.
I love it that I keep saying that pass has become almost impossible to do, and people keep finding a way to make that pass. Oh, look at this!
Look at this, indeed, as Ben Young. Bodhi Edie now has passed Matt McBride and joined up with Ben Young, so Young now runs in third. Bodhi Edie is in fourth. Matt McBride is fifth, and we're back in barn burner territory.
So let's watch the replay here, and what I love about this is Young's commitment. He straight lines it, and he knows he's in deep, but he makes it work. Look at, he commits just as he comes off the camber of turn two. But then what happens, I think, is McBride is unsure. Young drifts a little bit wide in the next turn. McBride follows him, and Edie manages to squeeze through. And I think Edie, for a moment, was thinking he could get everybody because they were a little unsure of what they were doing with their new situation in terms of the amount of track they had. So that was a good shakeup. I don't know how long this running order is going to persist, but now we have the complete reversal of what we had half a lap ago.
Talk for a moment about rider's style. You mentioned Matt McBride. He's got more of a sit-up style, almost as though he was. Here comes Edie again, takes a stab. No, doesn't quite get it done that time around. He'll follow in Ben Young's wheel tracks. Edie's got something in mind. Edie is definitely, look at it, head down, knees out. He's hanging off the bike more than anyone, and he's really getting power to the ground. Off of the hairpin corner once more. Look at the difference in bodies.
And I know if you caught that just after the passes, McBride had a big look over his shoulder, and I don't know if he's got a problem or if he's got an issue with something to do with the motorcycle, but he seemed more concerned about what was going on behind him than this particular dispute. So at the moment, I think the fight for the podium is between Young on his BMW and Edie, who of course is dazzling us with some aggressive and unknown, shall we say, on that bike for him lately. Don't forget, though, that Edie has beaten Jordan Szoke in a Superbike race at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
I was there.
He ran out of money, wasn't able to ride for a few years, but there's not a question of the ability of Bodhi Edie. And look at the splits now. So the times are a little tighter, and that suggests that perhaps Szoke isn't pushing as hard. You look at that, Young is very, very close to Jordan's best. So obviously that push Young made to get to third definitely yielded some good lap times, and I'm sure his team's thinking if only Start had been a little bit better and he hadn't got bogged down the first couple of laps.
I'm going by posture. Nobody is trying as hard out there as Bodhi Edie is right now. As I mentioned, look at him hanging off the inside of that Yamaha, and down the straightaway, even at every point along the straightaway, even in braking, he's still got his head down. He's not sitting up.
So we're on board here with Szoke, and this is where it gets to be fun. You get later in the race, and of course he's got a bit of a margin, so that takes some pressure off. But this is your worst case scenario. You're catching guys who are battling for position.
Lawrence.
That's Lawrence and
Michael Hood, I think it is.
Michael Hood, and so okay, he got one. He got under Lawrence, a rookie pro, former flat track star, and now he's working on Hood, and definitely Hood doesn't know he's there because Hood's thinking about Lawrence.
Wow, Hood around the outside of turn number 1, and actually, I don't know if you'd call that a block at all. Whoa! Szoke takes the inside line in one. Hood has to stand it up and have a look, and has another look to see if there's anybody else coming.
But I think you have to be fair that, you know, Szoke has made it up to midfield here. These guys are having real races for position and points, so it's not as if they're just riding around. Hood was focused on Lawrence and probably wasn't thinking too much about the leader.
Well, that, and I'm trying to identify the rider we catch. I think that's Mitch Card, if I'm not mistaken, on the number 12 Yamaha. That's Dougie Lawrence off to the right of Kenny Reedman, and there again was Michael Hood as we were riding with Kenny Reedman for a moment, and it is definitely Mitch Card on the Yamaha R1 who Szoke is coming up on now.
And here you can see this is a very good 600cc Yamaha, and at Shannonville it's almost as fast as a full-blown Superbike. Card has rejoined the series. He won 2 amateur championships. He was a star. Wow, and you know, Card is fast in the turns. This is not going to be easy, but now we know Szoke is there.
But there again, reflecting back on your comment about cameras side by side, they're going across the finish line. That looked a little closer than it actually was, I suspect, Colin.
Well, it was exciting, but these guys do know what they're doing, and I think that it was interesting that Jordan had a little bit of trouble in traffic, but Kenny didn't, because they already knew Jordan was there, so they're aware that they might be coming under pressure from the leaders. So that's the kind of challenge you face, and of course at places like Autodrome Saint-Eustache, that can undo your race in a lap or two.
Mitch Carr doing his best to stay with the champion and perhaps go to school on him a bit, as this looks like it's going to be his first full year on the Mopar CSBK Tour, and I think he may be eligible for Brooklyn Cycle Rookie of the Year awards.
Yeah, I think he absolutely he is, but the problem will be that he's focused on the Liquid Moly Sport Bike class. This is a secondary concern of his, whereas some of the other guys on 1000s are more likely to go after that.
Here we are on board with Kenny Reedman once more, coming up on a slower rider and making the pass. Again. Going into, okay, we've caught up to Card with Kenny Reedman. Now we're on board with Ben Young, having a look at Bodhi Edie. Edie coming out onto the front straightaway. That's where he had his mishap last year, was just coming out of turn 14. We're working lap number 19 now, as Bodhi Edie has moved up into the final podium position, or sorry, into 4th spot. I keep forgetting about Matt McBride holding on to 3rd there.
No,
so
I think Matt McBride is well behind this discussion. So these guys are coming up to pass Card and pick up a lap on him, and this is the fight for 3rd.
My apologies there, I was picking up Card as McBride, but here we are now looking from the hairpin. Kenny Reedman goes by. There's Mitch Card. There's Ben. Oh, down goes Bodhi Edie. Edie is on his side as he trapped. I thought he was trapped under the motorcycle. He's lifting it up. More bikes are going by. There goes McBride. There goes Hood. There goes Dougie Lawrence. And Bodhi Edie has straddled the Yamaha once more.
So let's have a look here. And this is an unusual crash for a pro because he rolled it off the tire. And yes, it is possible at the very highest level to run out of tire. And you can see he's so focused on getting by Card, on picking up the drive. He just leans it over a fraction too much. It's so rare you actually see a pro rider crash from lean. And I think that's just how badly Bodhi Edie was focused on making sure that he took advantage of the lap rider early on in the backstretch. What's immediately interesting is he gets right back up. So where is he in the mix for points and whatnot at this point?
We'll have to cipher that out as we pick up now on Jordan Szoke coming out of turn number 8 and heading up once more towards the hairpin, and he'll have some more traffic to deal with by the looks of it when he gets up into that area of the race course.
heading onto the back straight, and I think what you're going to see is Szoke be ultra conservative. He's got a decent lead, his board would have told him, so there's no need to take a chance in traffic. Just pace yourself. There you can see the gap is significant.
And that is JF Bilge, the pro rookie rider on the number 4 machine.
Former BMW rider, now on an ex-Reedman Kawasaki, and getting the hang of racing in the feature class here at Shannonville.
And Szoke will show him the way around Allen's corner. Nice and neatly done. Lots of room there as the champion goes by. And Bilge, after winning the Magnetti Morelli Amateur Superbike class last year in 2016, moving into the pro ranks and riding in both sport bike and superbike. 2 laps to go, Colin.
Yeah, Szoke is in good shape. You can see there's nobody immediately in front of him, and he took his time making that last traffic move, and no drama. And you can see he's still working the tires, squirming a little bit there. And watching Jordan style away in the lead late in the race has become a staple of our broadcasts. And this one is not much different. In the background, there's all kinds of action going on. Reedman not too far behind, and Young pretty much alone in third since Edie tipped over at the hairpin.
Quick comment on Bodhi Edie's crash. He was very fortunate there wasn't more damage done to that motorcycle. The low siding and like that is probably just a bunch of scrapes and perhaps a bent lever.
Well,
so.
I think he helped save it with his body.
Yeah,
look,
I thought he was trapped
thoughtful.
under the bike for a minute. He seemed to be fairly slow in getting to his feet and lifting it back up again, but of course he's okay, and he's definitely in this contest. We'll have to get a reading on him from timing and scoring. I think he's somewhere in around 5th or 6th right now.
There you can see Szoke still hustling it along, hard on the brakes, rear wheel in the air heading into Allen's. And there's our starter, Chris Chappelle, giving us that blue and white last lap flag. Caught a glimpse of Reedman in second. So basically under a lap to go for Szoke to win his 15th straight if he can.
And Reedman had his pit board coming out. I don't know what you tell a rider who's safe and secure in second spot what to do on his last lap except to bring it home.
Well, and theoretically pour the pressure on, and he has put a lot of pressure on Jordan, but not a sufficient amount. And of course, we're waiting to see a breakthrough for either Reedman or Young to get those first national feature race victories. They've both been close. Reedman, particularly at Shubenacadie last year,
yes,
really had a great race. So we'll see what happens. But
that's fine for Mr. Szoke. What about Bodhi Edie? We've got to find out where he sits in this contest. Last seen, he was on his backside at trackside, but had remounted, and there he is, running right in behind Michael Leon on the 74 machine, and look right behind him is the number 7 machine of Jeff Williams out of Kingston, Ontario. He's BMW mounted as well. Bodhi a lot smoother through the corner that time around, Colin.
Here we are with Jordan Szoke, and this is yet another page in the history book as he gets the checkered flag. A dominant victory in the end, although some great racing early on. Szoke has looked to see how far back Kenny Reedman is, and Reedman really was the true challenger. But look at this.
Bodhi Edie in on Michael Leon. Oh man, Leon did not know that was coming. Bodhi Edie just muscled his way through there and pushed Leon off the racing line. I think that gave him, yeah, it did, give him 5th spot.
So let's go back and see that salvage job, because Edie, as you said, picked it up, got it going again, and he's thinking about what might have been at this point, but he did a pretty good job, even if probably at this point, this does not impress Michael Leon one little bit. Edie in tight on the bumpy part of the track, on the brakes, and definitely there was a mix-up there. Leon certainly didn't expect to see him. Big commitment from Edie on a offline bumpy. You can see the bike's just all over the road.
Look
there.
at Leon's front end there.
And I think Leon tried to turn and had no expectation Edie would be there. He's looking so much further ahead in the turn, but Edie dug in, and you got to admire the effort.
Well, Michael Leon, of course, a long time pro rider, and of course, I don't doubt that the muscle memory and the skills that he owns kept him upright in that. I think a lesser rider might have found himself on his backside.
And Leon, of course, regional champion here, #1 plate holder.
Right.
Let's look at the overall results. Szoke from Reedman. Young makes it up to 3rd. Matt McBride, 4th is good, but not what he set out for. Bodhi Edie, well, 5th was amazing given how his race played out. Michael Leon, no doubt, really frustrated and annoyed to wind up 6th after a decent ride. Jeff Williams back in the series with 7th. Trepanier, a second-year pro. Andrew Nelson on the Suzuki. And Kazaz, the top 600 class bike, and our early race winner from Liqui Pro Sport Bike. Not bad on a 600. Now let's head down to our podium with Frank and meet our winners from the opening round of 2017.
Yeah, I got a good start. I mean, but everyone else seemed to get a good start too. And I got hung up on the outside of 1, and Michael got by me, and I had to make a really aggressive, quick decision to stuff him at the hairpin. And so apologies to him, but we made it through clean, and the guys just got a good gap on me, and and I just managed to claw them back and just use up a bit of my tire. And, you know, I wish I had this bike last year because it would have been a different ball game.
Yeah, I was giving her, but also didn't want to throw it away. You know, it's the first round of a long series, and I learned a lot during that race. Gonna talk with my whole team, have the bike a little bit more sorted for Grand Bend, and get ready to get out there and win a race because, man, I hate finishing second.
It's a long reach up to the champion. He's done it again. Don't you ever get tired of this?
Oh, no, I love it, man. And, you know, some parts of me feel bad that I'm always winning, but these races aren't easy. If you guys are here watching, like, we're battling. I've just been really fortunate to come out on top, but I love it. I love competing. These guys are riding unbelievable pace. The racing is there.
Thus is your podium from Mopar Features Superbike National Championship Final.
Now we head off for the series debut at Grand Bend Motorplex, and we're looking forward to more great racing in Superbike. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you soon.